Makeup. Makeup. Need to put on my uniform. Gonna put on my land investing sweatshirt because I am a certified land investor. Ooh, okay, everybody, what's going on? It's your boy, Coach Vic. So glad to be here with you today. I am going to answer your questions that you guys submitted in the Facebook group, Land Investing for Professional Millennials, right here live. Now, I'm doing this via Zoom, but I'm broadcasting it in the group. If you have a question live as I'm doing this, be it to clarify something or a new question comes up, please post it. I will hopefully see it. Or actually, guess you guys are on tape delay a bit, meaning I say something and you guys get the goddamn message like 3, 4 minutes later. So there will be some delay trying to figure out how to basically answer your questions. But if you do have them live, uh, let them go, let them rip. But we got some good ones. We got some real good ones. All right. So I'm gonna answer a couple of these questions first. I will tell you the questions and I'm gonna go through them one by one. But the questions we have today so far is how do I deal with properties that have steep topography and very few, if any, comps? Ooh. Another question: what to do about a mailer to a potentially bad area? Ah. Also, should you buy property from a distressed buyer through a realtor? Oh. Can you um, can you just find land with Propstream, or how do you most effectively find landowners? Oh, another great question. Interesting. Uh, what's the best way to find like vacant land property, especially if you're new to this whole thing? Very good to know. And finally, what's the best way to scold a child? Let me put my phone on silence so no one bugs us. But with that said, again, make sure you can hear me okay. Make sure you guys can see me okay. I want to make sure that everything is good. I want to make sure that you guys get the good stuff, the stuff that you guys want to know answered, those burning deep questions that is keeping you up at night, that makes it tough for you to be present with your loved ones, that's keeping you from making that real cheddar cheese, skrilla, paper, gouda. All right. So let's jump into the first one. Let me see if there's any comments here first off before I do anything else. And so far, nothing. Okay, good, good, good. All right, okay, no questions. All right, first question. How do I deal with properties that have steep topography and very few, if any, comps? Well, let me start this question or answering this question by telling you a story. Now, back in 2018 or so, I ended up buying some property in California. I live in the Bay Area. This property was about maybe 2 hours, I think, northeast of me in Lake County by Clear Lake. It might not be 2 hours away, but it wasn't close. And I ended up having to go out there to actually do a deal with somebody I probably shouldn't have done a deal with. Uh, First top tip: never go anywhere to do a deal. It's unnecessary. I mean, well, maybe you're doing like $120,000, $130,000, and you're getting a check, then you might want to do that. Jump on a plane and grab that $130,000. I had a mentor that did something like that. I would not hesitate to do the same. But for the amount of money I was getting, it wasn't worth driving out there, even though it's only a couple hours. Anyways, while I was out there, I was like, you know what? I did this deal with this guy that's probably not going to pay me all the money, but whatever. I'm going to go out and take a look at the property myself so I can get some actual pictures because I couldn't find it on the map, et cetera, et cetera. So I go, I'm climbing this mountain. I'm getting higher and higher elevations. I'm walking, I'm sweating. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. What I thought were supposed to be streets and roads were literally trails that are probably like this wide. I'm seeing weird animals. I don't know. I'm from the city, so I'm like, what the hell's going on, man? This is kind of freaky. So long story short, I couldn't find a goddamn property, but all the properties I did see, the elevation was very steep, extremely steep. Now, from what I heard from the person who bought the property from me, and then later they couldn't finish paying it off and I sold it to somebody else, it was on the side of a mountain and it was covered by trees and everything else. So it wasn't like this property that was out in the open, that was very easily found, anything like that. And it sold anyways. I've only paid a couple $100 for it. I sold it for $2,000 twice. Actually, the first time I sold for 3,000, that guy only paid me total of 1,500, if that's if I'm being generous. And that was stretched out between a year and a half. And then I sold it again in cash for $2,000. And the second time I sold it, it sold as soon as I put it up, it was gone. So the question is, how do how do I deal with property with steep topography? Well, you had to ask yourselves these questions. Number one, how steep is steep? Are we talking a slight grade? Are we talking you need a goddamn like rope and some picks and things like that to scale the mountain? So you got to understand what's steep. Number two, is it close to a road? How close to a road? Is it on and when I say road, is it like a residential type neighborhood or not? If it's out in the middle of nowhere, how big is the lot? Because if part of the property is on the side of a mountain or something like that, but there's a lot of part that's flat, in my personal opinion, I don't think that's that big a deal. Others may disagree, and that's fine, but people will do something with the flat. If it's a residential area, check a look at, are there any other houses that are on that same little block, same little road, same little whatever, because that will tell you what's possible to be done easily. Also, if it is a residential area, how big or expensive are the houses in the area? So if it's a residential area and the houses aren't very expensive, they're not very big, I'm not obviously it can still be done, but how often or how willing is someone to do that, to drill into the side of the mountain, clear it, flatten it, whatever they need to do to build the house. Versus these bigger houses who they may be on the side of a mountain, but they want those views. They want exclusivity. They want to be left alone. So sometimes that's a selling point. So it depends. Now, if you're in an area where people don't have the money to do that clearing, to do whatever needs to be done to build a house there, it may not be the best investment. So again, where is the property? What type of area is it? Are there any other houses that are on that steep topography? Is the area big or small? Is it rural? Is it residential? So there's so many questions to answer that it's hard to say what to do in general. But I guess the general thing is to understand those things and then make your best decision. Because like any investment, you don't really know until you actually go out there and try to sell. Now, that brings up to the second part of that first question. What do you do if there aren't any comps? Well, firstly, if there's no comps, I tend to not be in that area. However, that's not always true because the area I am in now at the time didn't have many comps. It had some, but didn't have many. And the area I stumbled upon, I it made me a ton of money last year. Made me a lot of money last year. It was a small area. It wasn't a high dollar area, but the fact that it didn't have a lot of restrictions with building and things of that nature, people loved it. So I was able to do very well there. So comps are important. It does help tell you something about the area, but in general, before recently, I didn't really care about comps that much. What I cared about was number one, are people selling property in that area now? And I wasn't even looking at that individual subdivision. I was just looking at the goddamn county, which is a big area, which isn't necessarily the best strategy, but it still works pretty well. So are other people selling property right now? And if so, how much are they selling those properties for? Also, take a look at how long those properties have been on the market. Now, you can call that a comp if you want, but most people consider things that have sold as actual comps or comparables. I was looking at, hey, this county has 4 towns, for example. I can see that town A, there's a bunch of stuff, but I'm looking at town B. Do I go for it? Honestly, if you can get property for under $1,000, namely 400 or 500 bucks, I tend to take a chance and go for it. Why? Because I know for a fact that I can probably find somebody to sell that property to for at least $1,000 or 2,000, depending on the area, depending on the restrictions. So that's why I take a chance. If you get it for $100, $200, $300, $400, whatever, take a chance. Go for it. Mountain or no mountain. Somebody's going to be willing to buy it. If you cannot actually get it for that low of a price, or you know for a fact it's in a very restrictive area, meaning people can't do what they want with the property, I probably would stay away. If it's an HOA, I really would stay away. Unless, again, the HOA is in a very expensive area, then you have the exclusivity. All right. So hopefully that answers that question of number one, what do you do with properties with steep topography? And number two, what do if there's no little or no comps? So again, it all depends. It really all depends. So hopefully they answered that. Let me see. If you found that useful, let me know. I'm gonna check the comments real quick. Just want to make sure everything is all good. Okay, no comments. All right, great. Moving on. Next question. What do you do about a mailer to a potentially bad area? So this actually I was actually talking to this individual in a private message, and he just reiterated the question in the group. So I'll read the question out loud just so you guys are all on the same page. Well, I accidentally mailed an HOA subdivision. I am getting good responses, but according to some, I should ditch my whole mailer. This is from someone from the course I took. So I guess that person is their guru or the person they learned from said, you know what, forget about it. I don't want to end up with several properties and have to pay HOA fees while trying to sell. I'm just not sure how to proceed. Well, I'm glad you asked that question because this is actually a good question. Now, I don't know who you learned land investing from because it definitely wasn't me. And that's fine. A lot of people, this business is so simple, and a lot of people can teach it. But I have my own different nuances and takes on things, and I have a different approach than a lot of other people. So, first off, I'm very confident in my ability to sell. Why? Because I actually studied selling. And a lot of people don't actually study selling, marketing, writing ad copy, and understanding their market or understanding a new market. So it gets tough to sell property when you don't know how to sell. With that said, what really makes things easy to sell besides having those skills is understanding what you are buying and understanding it closely. Now, it seems that before you've actually exchanged any money with anybody, you're actually come to know this. You spent a little on a mailer, cool, but you're starting to understand, okay, well, apparently this area is no good. My question is, why did that person tell you that the area is bad? Is it because of the HOA? Do they have actual experience in that area or in that subdivision? If they do have experience in that subdivision and they're successful, I would just listen to what they say. It's like, you know what, forget it. I don't want it. I've actually done that. I wasn't sure about an area. I didn't do the research that I probably should have. I sent a bunch of mailers, got some great responses. I was talking to folks, and as I was talking to people on the phone, I found out a lot about the areas I didn't like. Squatters. I called in the county to get some information about properties. They're like, hey, they're like, we don't even know where this property is. We can't even give you a plat map. We have no clue. We have no how to find it on the map. And we honestly, we don't care. Hearing stuff like that, I'm like, oh, knowing that if I can't help have the county tell me where it is, how am I going to instruct a person trying to buy it from me how to see that property? If I know there's squatters there, who knows what type of things they're doing on the property that they probably shouldn't be doing? How am I going to send a person to buy from me to go there and then, what type of trouble they may get into? So stuff like that will turn me away from an area. Now, again, if this person that's advising you to stay away, just dish the whole mailer because they know the area, then yeah, I will listen. But if they don't, well, there's other things to consider. Not only number one, see how much the HOAs are. How much is it? Number two, see what the HOA gives you. Some HOAs are just bullshit, in my opinion. Others, they actually give you a lot of great amenities, not just like a community center and a public pool and things of that nature and manicured lawns, but sometimes they give you access to like the lake that other people can't get access to. Sometimes they give you different connections. Many times HOAs can protect your property values. So they don't want just anybody coming to the area, junking up the property, not taking care of the stuff, making everybody else's property values come down. So sometimes the HOA gives you a lot. Number three, take a good look at the area itself. What type of homes are there? Because if it's an HOA, there's going to be homes. How big are those homes? How nice are those homes? See if the HOA has a website so you can see the rules and the bylaws and what the dues and the fees go to. This is going to help you paint a picture of the area if you haven't been there yourself, which you probably haven't. Once you start to see that, then you can start to see, hey, is this a place where maybe I would want to be? If not me, can I envision a lot of other people wanting something like this? And if you can see that, then you see, okay, what type of person would want this? What type of thing would they do? What type, like for a living, for example, what is their age range? If they were to like, what type of people are attracted to this area, not just the county or the subdivision, but what like the amenities that it offers? What types of people, that are there? Once you can start to picture that, then you can start like, well, are there more people like that? Can I sell? Is this place desirable or is it not? If the HOAs are expensive, is it worth that price of admission? Case in point, there's a place in Texas where the HOA was 700 something a year. At the time, that was the highest HOA I've ever seen. I thought it was insane. I was afraid to buy lots there. As soon as I posted that land for sale, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. I was so worried about paying more like shit. If this doesn't sell by June or July of last year, or is it this year? It was this year. I'm like, what am I going to do? This is going to be a big expense. I can't find enough property in that area at this point. It's very expensive HOA. But there's another place I have. I think we're the person who asked this question. We're in the same. Well, we were in the same county. There is no HOA, but the property I had deed restrictions, meaning it was like, hey, you can only do this with the property. You can only build this. You know, if you're building a house, it's got to look like this, or it's got to be this size, and you can't do this with the property. You can't do that. You know, you can't raise farm animals on it. You can't open like a commercial business on this property. It's only could be used for housing. The house has to be a minimum of this size, etc. And because of that, no one wanted the property. They were attracted to it, but they couldn't do what they wanted with it. So they couldn't do it. So that got me out of the area. Now, if you find out what you can and can't do with the property, you find out that people in the area like those restrictions, I would get the cheapest property you can get, buy that, and then go for it. That's what I would do. Understand though, with that HOA, that's going to put a little fire in your butt. It's like, hey, you know what? I got to sell this. And if you don't get it cheap, walk away. When I'm saying cheap, I'm saying $500, $400, $300. So that way you can easily offload it, or more easily offload it for, let's just say you buy it for 300 and you sold it for 700. Not a big payday, but you more than doubled your money. And it's a great experience, right? But also, shit, while we're on the topic, make sure the HOA doesn't have transfer fees, doesn't have weird things about the lot, and make sure any lot that you're interested in don't have liens on them from other people, the previous or the current owners, not paying those HOA dues. So to recap, number one, find out why the person who's instructing you to throw away that whole mailer, meaning to ignore all the results you're getting from there, understand why. If they have direct experience in the group, or excuse me, in that area, listen, they know what they're talking about. If they don't, and they don't have experience of any, you know, like, then I'm not saying ignore them, but you got to understand every area is different. You don't know what you're getting until you actually get in there. Number two, make sure you understand completely what the HOA offers. So it may be 60 a month, but maybe it's because it's a beautiful manicured area with high-end clientele. If that's the case, you'll find buyers, in my opinion. If not, maybe you stay away. Number three, make sure that you understand that if you get it for cheap, you're gonna have you have a great chance of selling it, because you might have to sell it for super cheap, but you'll still make your money. So again, if you sold it for 700, but you only paid 300 for it, you're in good shape. If you sold it for 700, but you bought it for 1,000, not so good. All right. So that's what I would do. And then, like, again, if you're willing to go for it, go ahead, take a chance, get it something for cheap. Just buy one. Tell everybody else, you know what? I'm not sure if I can afford any more, or whatever you want to tell them. You can say, hey, I can afford more, or I'm not sure if I want to stay in the area, et cetera, et cetera. They'll work with you. Most people aren't in a rush. And if the area is as bad as your guru or whoever told you, ain't no one else going to be sending them offers anyways. So in that case, if it does work out and people do want the first property you have and you sell it, then you have a whole backload that you can get and sell quickly. Because even though you may have sold a property, you'll have a bunch of people inquiring about it. You keep their names, you keep their numbers, and as soon as you get your next one in, hey, I got a new one in. Are you interested? Oh yeah, I'm ready to go. You see what I'm saying? So you got built-in buyers. Um, but I'll have a little caveat. But I said earlier, you got to understand what you're buying. So you got to do the proper research. It's not always easy to find out if areas have HOAs. Different tools allow you to understand that. But sometimes the Google search will tell you, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you don't know there's an HOA until you actually get on the phone with the person who says, yes, I'm interested in selling. And you're like, hey, is there an HOA with this? I couldn't tell. And they'll tell you. And then they're like, oh, okay, so it's an HOA. What do you get with that HOA? They'll tell you from their experience. And depending on who you're talking to, hopefully they're honest. I've never met any, well, I'm not saying I haven't, but most people are pretty honest about this. They'll give you the real deal. They'll give you the real deal. So hopefully that answers your questions. Everybody else, so far so good. Are we liking this, or am I hitting this, getting those sweet, juicy questions that are keeping you up at night? That's keeping you from raising your children properly? Let me know. Okay, I got a quick one from Gabe real quick. I'm gonna intersect this one. I want to call on a property in a bougie area in New Orleans, vacant for 16 years. What do I need to do to prepare for the call besides the obvious? I don't have land buyers in my list. Well, Gabe, you're going to have to let me know, what do you mean by the obvious? Let me know what you were thinking about when you talked about this. But in general, if I'm about to call a person like I did before this live stream, number one, I pull up the county's assessor site and I get the property in question. Number two, I find out how much they currently owe in back taxes. And number three, I try to pull up the county's GIS site or maybe Google Maps so I can actually see it, the property and how it looks. And then from there, when I'm on the phone, this is the people that I'm investing with. I'm showing them how to do this land thing properly. I have a whole series of questions that I do. And the way I think about it is like you're doing a driver's test, meaning you start off with a good grade. So the property starts off with the A grade. And then as you ask certain questions about the property, they'll start to, oh yeah, it doesn't have this, I can't do that, etc. You start knocking off points. And if they still have a passing grade by the end of all the questions, you make an offer based on that grade. Obviously, so a property with an A grade gets a higher offer than a property with a C grade. Property with an F, you don't offer. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your thing. Now, they may want to give you the property if they're bad enough because the property's so high, whatever. Then maybe you take a chance on it. You know, it's a judgment call. Okay, let's see. I guess I'll have to prepare for a wholesale property. Well, not. I don't buy property to wholesale. Wholesaling is a little bit different in the land business for the fact that, for the most part, when people wholesale, for the most part, actually, because I do it a lot actually, but I sell at my retail price, so it's fine. But when you're wholesaling in the land business, it's more so the people who they don't know how to market, they don't know how to sell, so they're hoping they can sell it to another investor to get their money back out of it, maybe make a couple $100 more, et cetera, and have that more experienced investor sell it to somebody for retail prices. Me personally, I always sell for retail prices. Why sell for $400 when I can sell for 800? Why sell for 4,000 when I can sell for 8,000? Why sell for 16,000 to a wholesaler when I can sell for 32,000? I know how to sell. So, in my opinion, learning these skills on how to sell, how to market, understanding your audience will be much better than worrying about wholesaling. But the tips I gave previous, that should really help you out. Let me know if that works for you. Cool, cool, cool. So far, so good. All right, all right. Let's move on to the next question. Appreciate you guys asking these. I love answering these questions. You guys help me stay on top of my game. Next question. Should I buy land through a realtor or directly from a distressed owner? Never buy land through a realtor. And here's why. Number one, they're always going to charge you a lot more than what the land is worth because they're putting in a little wiggle room for negotiation. And let's not forget, realtors always work on commission. So if the price says $30,000 for a vacant piece of land, guess what? It's probably worth 20. They're just trying to get a better commission. Now, do I blame them for that? Hell no. Realtors, they work hard. They got their, they can add their value. Now, they don't add much value to me in these situations because I can do exactly what they do. But for a lot of people, they add a lot of value to the deal. So yeah, why not give them a little cut? But for you as a land investor, no, do not buy from a realtor because as I just said, they will charge you more than what it's worth. Number two, this happens so often. Realtors have a very difficult time with this business because it's hard for them to wrap their head around doing things differently. I don't use a title company for the most part. I don't have to take 30 days to close on a deal. I don't have to do all these weird things with escrow. I do things very, very quickly. And for them, it's hard for them to understand. I actually have a conversation I say about this lady. She was like, hey, I'm going to report you to the Texas Board of Realtors. I'm like, go ahead. I'm not a realtor. Like, how could you sell this way? I'm like, she's like, that's illegal. How is it illegal when I'm selling my own property? You mean to tell me I can't sell something I own? And it was just so hard for her to wrap her head around me doing things so differently. So I definitely do not recommend from buying from a realtor. Every now and then, you may have a really cool realtor buddy. You may find a smoking hot deal because the realtor doesn't know because it's vacant land and most realtors don't know anything about vacant land. That's why a lot of times when people sell properties to a realtor for vacant land, it sits on the market for a very long time because again, they're working on commission. If the land ain't going to give them a lot of commission, they're like, I'm going to focus on these houses. That's going to pay me a lot more and they're easier for me to understand. It's easy for me to show, etc. So no, don't go from a realtor. Always buy from distress. And what's distress? They owe back taxes. They don't live in a county. They don't live in a state. They've inherited from somebody. Now they got something they don't want. Divorces happen. They're trying to liquidate their assets so their spouse doesn't get it. There's all types of reasons. Always, always, always buy directly from the owner. It's a faster sale. It's a cheaper sale. It's an easier sale. And everybody wins. Everybody wins. And there's no middleman to slow things up or add complications to the deal. Never, 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 never buy from realtor unless, again, it's a smoking hot deal and it's basically what you would have paid as if you did go to private party yourself. Cool, cool, cool. All right. Can you just find land with Propstream, or how do you most effectively find landowners? So Propstream, if you don't know, is a service that you can pay for about 100 a month, where they basically, from my understanding, I could be wrong, same way with Data Tree and there's other ones where they scour different databases and county websites and things of that nature, get a lot of comps from past sales and all that, put it all together and present it in a nice package. Um, they work pretty well. Since their information they're getting it from other places is not always up to date, but in general, it works well. Now, Data Tree is a lot more expensive than PropStream, but you can get a lot more features from Data Tree. I use PropStream personally because even the list may not be as accurate as I would like. They're accurate enough for me to make deals from it, and I'm only paying 99 a month. And in that 99, I can export so much more data than I can with PropStream, or excuse me, Data Tree. Now, yes, you can find a lot of land with PropStream. It's very easy. The guys that I'm investing with, I show them how to use it properly for our business. I actually even showed them how to use PropStream for how to sell property as well. People didn't know you can do that, but you can use that data to help you sell, help you research. It's actually a pretty good tool. It's not the most, it doesn't, on the surface, it doesn't look like it's that useful. It looks pretty basic, but if you know what you're looking for, you know what to do, you can actually get a lot out of it. You can get a lot more juice out of that lemon. Data tree makes it a lot easier to do that, but yeah. Now, what do I do if you don't use a system like data tree or whatever? Well, this is what I recommend anyway, because in general, this is going to be the most accurate, going directly to the county's assessor site and finding all the vacant land properties there. That's what I did when I got back into land investing. I had no money to pay for any services. I had to manually do it. Now, I'm a coder, so I was able to make some shortcuts, but there are certain shortcuts that you don't need code to do. For example, many URLs on those assessor sites, they have, www.somecounty.com slash, property slash, and then like that last bit of the URL would be the APN number or something like that. And usually they're all ordered sequentially. So if the APN or the ID or whatever you want to call it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll get the information if it applies, and then I'll go to the URL and change it from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Press enter. The next page loads, which is a property of next to the one I was just looking at. Hey, is it vacant? Nope. Go to 1 through 7, and so on and so forth. And I built a list that way. And all I did was do about that 20, get 20 names a day, and then mail those out, and then do that every day. And then the days I have more time, I'll do 40, I'll do 50, I'll do 60. And then as soon as I create that list, I'll mail it out. Why do I do it that way? Well, the assessor page has what I would have hoped to be the most accurate information because it's straight from the county, straight from the horse's mouth. It'll have the person who owns it, depending on the area, or excuse me, depending on the state. Some states don't show that without paying. You got to pay money, and then you can see that. But like California lands are like that. Certain California sites, you got to pay the fee to get like the actual owner's address. But you can see who owns it. You can see how much they paid for it, or maybe sometimes you can see how much they paid for it. You can see the assessed value. You can see, any improvements on the property, and improvements usually mean something that was built. You can see all types of information. You can even see, hey, when was this put into that person's name? You can see past deeds and, from where they are. So I often go and use the assessor's page to double check my Propstream lists after the fact. And I definitely use it after somebody says, yes, I want to sell you my property. I'll go to the assessor's page and check it out. But again, you can make a list that way. You can also go to the county GIS site. You can see the map and then click on an area, see, oh, this is owned by John Smith. Okay. Then you click on the lot next to it and you get all the information that way. So now you can build a list based on optics. You can kind of see where things are. Like, oh, this is a really nice area. I'm really going to focus here. I hope to, get something here. Let me make sure I get my pricing right, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, you don't need Propstream. You don't need anything. You don't need to spend a ton of money to do this business, but the money you do spend will save you a lot of time, ton of time. And early on, you may have all the time in the world but no money. So do it for free, and then really get good with this. And then when you have some money, go ahead and use a service. Makes things a little bit easier. How am I doing on time? Shit. All right. Let me look. About 30 minutes in. Okay. Let's see what Gabe says. He says, okay, so you are the end buyer on the land and not just the signing the contract. Thought that is possible. Want to JV if I lock it up. So yeah, I'll always buy the property. I'll always, because if I don't buy the property, you'll have to wholesale the contract, which is legal, or you could become a broker. And acting with as a broker without a broker's license is illegal. So that's why I buy it. And that way I can do what I want with my own property. And if I want to sell it right away, I can. It's mine. I can do what the fuck I want. If I don't want to sell it, I don't have to. Again, it's mine. If I want to end up like, you know what? I want to become a landlord. I'm gonna build a goddamn house on this thing. Build a little tiny house, make it a container home or whatever it is. I can do it if I want. So because I own it. Um, but for the most part, I just flip it. You also you can do with these vacant land properties that you don't have to build on it. You can lease the property to somebody else, like a solar company who wants to put panels on your land, or a billboard, or somebody who wants to lease your land for recreational activities. Obviously, that depends on what you're doing with the property, where it is, how big it is, and things like that. But when you own it, you have a lot more freedom and flexibility. On the downside, you'll need some capital up front when you're wholesaling, when you're just signing contracts, you don't need your own money. You can do it that way. But then, in my personal opinion, it adds a lot of stress because you got to do things in a timely manner. If you don't find a buyer and things, it's just a lot. It's just a lot, in my opinion. Other people totally disagree and they make great money wholesaling. Hey, more power to you. As long as you're out there making money, I don't really give a damn. Just keep making money. All right. Let's see. I'm running out of time. All right. Let's see. All right. So we're down to the last one. What's the best way to find property? My favorite way to find property, I like to go to what's available on Zillow, LandWatch, Craigslist, whatever, and then just see what's going on. Sometimes I get a tip. Most times I'm like, you know what? A lot of people seem to be moving to certain areas for this reason or that reason. COVID caused a lot of people to move. Um, right now in Atlanta is the new Wakanda. Right now, a lot of people are moving to the Atlanta area. So I'm looking at the surrounding areas. I live in California. I know how valuable real estate is. A lot of people are trying to get out of California for various reasons. So I might be able to get a deal. So I just kind of use my common sense on that and just kind of see what's going on. And then from there, I do the research. I may have a hunch, but that don't really mean anything until I actually dig into it. Now, the people who are investing with me, I show them exactly how to research from like the broad to the very narrow and specific. And depending on the goals of that individual, I give you the options of how, hey, this is what if you're just trying to get something real quick, you can just do this, boom, you're done. If you're trying to dig in deep and really squeeze out every last drop of juice from this area, this is how you do that. But in general, I use Propstream to first I'll do the research, I'll dig deep, I'll get price per acre, I'll do all types of other things. If you guys see my case study, you see what I'm doing. And then if I like, you know what, this passes the sniff test. I think this looks good. I'll get a list from Propstream. I'll start to contact those folks, usually with the mailer. Sometimes I'll do text if I'm urgent, and then just see what happens. Just see what happens. I always put a price range. So if people aren't interested in my price range, they're not going to contact me. And that's going to like, all right, you know what? The price range I put was inadequate. No one liked it. And I'm like, I don't want to up that range. So I'm out. So I may have spent a couple $100, depending on how many mailers I put out. Maybe I only spent $100 doing some research and testing the market. But I probably saved myself thousands upon thousands of dollars by not buying something or overpaying for something. Um, So always do a bit of research, understand what's available, and then do it that way. And if you can't use a system like Propstream or something, as I said, build a list manually from the county site or the assessor site or the GIS site. Finally, what's the best way to scold a child? Well, with my kids, what I like to do these days is I ask them questions, and I'm like, let's say for example, the room is dirty. My 7-year-old son, like, hey, your room is dirty. Like, hey, do you want to live like a slob? Are you okay with this? Like, no. I'm like, well, why? Why are you living like this? What's going on? Right? Sometimes when my son does something bad, I'm like, do you know how you make this person feel? How would you feel if blah, 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 blah? And my son's like real simple, like, oh my God. And he's like, oh my God, my world's crumbling around me. And I don't gotta yell at him. Back in my day, my mom just got the belt, whipped my ass. These days, I don't have to do that now. Sometimes I might show the belt and then they straighten up. Like, oh shit, I don't want that belt. I don't want to get my ass beat. They don't even know what it's like to get an ass beat, but they heard stories. I haven't beat my kids. Shit, have I ever beat them? I give them a couple of spankings, but damn, it's been years. I haven't had to. It's the best way I know. Ask them questions like, hey, this is how you're living. Are you okay with that? And if they're okay with living the life the way they want to live, I let it go because eventually they're going to learn like, damn, dad was right. There's nothing better than hearing dad was right. Anyways, that is all for today. I went a little bit over time. I want to get all those questions in, especially how to scold a child. That just makes me laugh when I say it that way. Uh, my kids don't listen when I talk to them. Well, I mean, damn. Did you show them the belt? You gotta show them the belt. Um, but yeah, when I ask questions, did I help them realize, damn, I'm not living my best life? They realize that. Oh, you know what else I do with my kids? I take away shit that they really like a lot. And like since my kids have a little money, I'm teaching about money and investing and things like that. I take away their money. Oh, they don't like that. You gotta find what they really like, and then take that shit away. Oh my god, they have a meltdown. It's hilarious, hilarious. Anyways, that's it. Sorry to go back into that. Always makes me laugh. Make sure you guys stick with the group. I know you guys got more questions. I probably couldn't get to some that I didn't see. I want to make sure I'm helping you guys succeed. I want to make sure you guys are doing the things that you need to do to make that cashola, that money, that skrilla, that paper, that gouda. All right. If you are looking to work with me individually, go ahead and send me a PM or something, or say, hey, Coach Vic, hook me up. I can let you know what that looks like. You can join my investment group. It's not where we just pool our money together, but I'm actually showing people how to do this. We're holding each other accountable. We're making sure we're doing the things that we need to do to invest properly, and that we have a good life, but we have a good balance with our families, that we take care of our bodies physically, that we are doing our hobbies and we're buying our time back, that we're not so consumed with work that we're forgetting the small things, because we all do that. I know I've been very guilty of that. But I appreciate you guys being in the group. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys so much. Next week, we'll have a different topic. I don't know what I'll talk about yet. Depending on what you guys want to hear about, I'll do a presentation or a lecture on that. But other than that, it was good to see you guys. So I am out. Peace.